Right, hello you lot, welcome back to the xSmithyx YouTube channel, here today for another brand new video, and today we are diving in for another one of our season preview videos to look at the Haas Formula 1 team. If you did miss the last episode, it wasn't loaded just a couple of days ago now, so do go and check that one out, obviously after you watch this video. And if you do go on to enjoy this video, do consider hitting that subscribe button down below so you don't miss the rest of the series coming up over the next few weeks. Now, before we jump into the video, I do have to be a little bit serious here. Obviously, I am going to have to mention a certain incident that happened over the winter involving Nikita Mazepin. Now, if you do not wish to hear that for whatever reason, because I know it's quite a serious topic and has bad connotations for some people, I will leave a timestamp in the description below so you can jump ahead and skip over that if you do not wish to see it. But with that out of the way, before we jump into the content, just a quick reminder about our giveaways for 2021.
So in case you missed it, on February the 1st, we launched our 1k giveaway, our 2021 promotion aimed at trying to hit 1,000 followers and subscribers on our YouTube, our Twitter and on our Instagram. To do this, we are giving away over £500 of F1 prizes, ranging from team gear to F1 car models to F1 artwork. If you can think of it, we are probably giving it away. If you want to get involved in the Twitter or Instagram giveaways, links are in the description to take you to those. All you need to do is give us a follow and make sure you comment on the giveaway post. It's pinned on Twitter. You'll be able to find it on the Instagram nice and easy. Over here on YouTube, just find our introduction video, click on the info card in the top right, or it is tagged on the main page. All you need to do is go over there, leave any comment on that video, and of course, make sure you smash that subscribe button. As soon as we hit 1,000 subscribers on any of our social media platforms, a winner will be chosen for that draw. So you've got 3 chances to win, 3 chances to get involved. So best of luck, and let's get straight back into the video.
So, Haas F1, the sport's only American outfit, joined F1 back in 2016 and very quickly tied itself with Ferrari through various technical partnerships, buying the maximum allowed number of restricted parts allowed under the rules. And this approach actually worked wonders for Haas. Over the first 2 seasons they finished a very impressive 8th before a huge jump up the grid in 2018 saw the team actually come as high as 5th place in the constructor standings in just their 3rd season in the sport. They did appear to be a team on the up heading into 2019, however since then they have been in freefall. An absolutely disastrous 2019, marred by issues understanding the Pirelli tyres as well as the absolute fiasco that was the Rich Energy deal, left the team languishing down in 9th place in the Constructors in 2019, and the team had targeted a bounce back year last year in 2020 to try and boost them back up the Constructors. Instead, Haas endured their worst ever season in Formula 1 with yet another 9th place finish, but only 3 points to their name, the lowest tally they had ever had in the sport. Now this led to numerous rumours that Gene Haas might consider just pulling the plug altogether on the American outfit. However, these rumours did prove to be unfounded, as the team have signed the new Concord agreement and are signed up to the sport for the next few seasons. Off track, the team this year is retaining large parts of its leadership structure. Fan favourite Gunter Steiner is once again returning as team boss. Technical directors Rob Taylor and Ben Agatha. This guy once again return as technical directors. However, Haas are set to see a huge increase in involvement from Ferrari in the coming season. With the upcoming budget cap coming into effect for this very season and being set at just $145 million, big teams like Ferrari, Mercedes and Red Bull face the prospect of having to make a lot of staff redundant just to be able to fit underneath this cap. To try and get around this, Ferrari is currently creating what it has dubbed the Haas Hub in Maranello, a place where a lot of staff will be transferred to work for the American outfit in the years to come, rather than having to completely lose their job with the Ferrari company. Furthermore, Ferrari chassis chief Simone Resta is being seconded to the Haas team this season, and this was a move that caused a lot of surprise in the paddock when it was announced during the 2020 season, as Simone had previously been at Alfa Romeo. He'd only been recalled a couple of months prior to this announcement, so it seems quite odd to take him from Alfa Romeo, have him at Ferrari for a couple of months and then ship him straight back off to Haas. However, there are potential reasons for this. Now, Resta brings a wealth of experience to the Haas team, having worked for Ferrari since 2001 and being there during their heyday during the early 2000s. He is particularly proficient in the chassis area, and that is somewhere Haas really need to get on top of after their issues in 2019 understanding the Pirelli tyres, and then last season suffering from, to my mind, one of the strangest chassis issues I have ever heard of in my 20 years of following Formula 1. Now, we only know about this issue because Romain Grosjean decided to tell the world's press about it after Haas announced that he would not be retained for the new season. And it is quite a strange one. Now, it is quite a complex thing to try and explain, so I am going to try and dumb it down a little bit, so hopefully you guys can understand what we're talking about. But like I said, this is a very, very strange issue, so to help, I'm going to be enlisting the help of this. Now, what we have here is a 2019 model of the Haas Formula 1 car, which is what I'm going to use to try and explain the issue that Haas were having this season. So, very, very quickly, aerodynamic stability in F1 explained by a pleb holding a model. Now, all the surfaces on an F1 car, the front wing, the rear wing, obviously the barge boards, every single thing that you can see on the upper surfaces of this car is designed to produce downforce. Downforce, as the name implies, is a force that pushes the car down. Now, as I just said, all of this car produces downforce. However, what Formula 1 designers strive for is aerodynamic stability. Now, what does this mean? Well, to put it simply, if the front wing produces a certain amount of downforce and the rear wing produces a certain amount of downforce, ideally they would cancel out. However, obviously, all these little bits around the car produce a little bit of downforce here, some more here, a lot on the wings, so it is very difficult. However, the basic aim is to try and get as much of the downforce centred around the middle of the car. This means it's very balanced and very predictable through the corners. If you have too much downforce towards the back, the car is pushed down at the back, the front end becomes very light, and this is how you end up with cars that are very understeery. However, on the opposite end of the spectrum, if you have a car that has a lot of front end downforce, the car will be pushed in a lot at the front. However, much like a seesaw, you get a very loose rear end. And what happens in this case? Well, the car spins. Now, the issue that Haas were having in 2020 wasn't actually caused by aerodynamics, it was being caused by the rear suspension. However, the effect of this was to create a car so unstable the drivers could never actually drive it to its potential. So let me explain. So during free practice, the drivers would hop in the car and drive the car around the track. And as they progressed through the session, they would try and change the setup to try and make sure the car is balanced as possible in the middle. However, there was an issue with the Ferrari suspension that they had bought last season. Now, it is not yet known if this was a Ferrari suspension specific issue or just the way Haas had packaged their car, but what was happening was this. As the car went around the track, the rear suspension started to heat up and expand, and in doing so would make the rear ride height go up. Now, in doing so, this means that the rear end now starts to produce less downforce. The lower it is to the ground, the more downforce it produces, which is why F1 cars run so close to the ground. So obviously, with the rear end going up, producing less downforce, the aerodynamic balance starts to shift towards the front. To solve this, the team have to change the setup and slowly try and build it back. Now, they're constantly chasing this throughout the session because as the car gets hotter, the rear suspension gets warmer, expands more, and makes the rear ride height go even higher. In turn, this means the aerodynamic balance goes even further forward, and the setup that they tried at the beginning of the session is now completely useless. However, the issues for Haas didn't stop there. Once the session had finished, the car obviously goes into parc fermé and sits in the garage either for a few hours if it's during sessions, or overnight if it's during a Friday or a Saturday. At this point, the rear suspension starts to cool down, which then makes the car sink. Now, this is an issue because the setup that they have worked on has been pushing the aerodynamic balance further back, but as soon as the rear end of the car starts to sink back into the ground, as soon as they get back into the car, the aerodynamic centre is going to have shifted from the middle, where they left it, further back, which now means they've got a car that was too oversteering. Now, this was very, very difficult for the drivers. It basically meant the car never handled the same between times they got in it. And obviously, as a Formula 1 driver, confidence is key. Not having the ability to push the car to its limits because you don't know where the limits are going to be is a massive drawback. And this issue, like I said, is one I have never heard of in my 20 years of watching Formula 1. Like I mentioned before, it is not actually known whether this was a Ferrari suspension issue, and if it was, it might explain some of the issues Ferrari actually had with their rear end instability over the early part of the season especially. However, it does seem more likely that it is going to be a Haas specific problem with the way they've packaged the rear end. So hopefully they will use that knowledge as well as Resta's experience to make sure it doesn't happen again this season, because they definitely cannot afford a car that is so unpredictable with their very, very young driver lineup. However, it is safe to say you should not be expecting fireworks from Haas this season. Gunter Steiner has already gone on record as saying that he expects this season to be very, very difficult for the team, and all signs point to Haas being one of the earliest teams, in fact, to shift all their focus towards 2022 and the big rule changes, especially, like I just said, with their all-rookie lineup. Now this does not bode well for Haas's all-new driver lineup for 2021. The team opted to scrap both Kevin Magnussen and Romain Grosjean in favour of an all-rookie lineup of young German wonderkid Mick Schumacher and grade A not nice guy Nikita Mazepin. Now Schumacher enters F1 obviously with a world of hype, especially after his very impressive F2 title triumph last season, as well as a decorated junior career that has seen him take 26 race wins and 61 podiums in 192 races across Formula 4, Formula 3 and Formula 2. Now remember that stat because it's going to be important later, but Schumacher is definitely one for the future and one that all eyes are going to be on this season as he enters into the sport following in his father's footsteps as part of the Ferrari Driver Academy. He is definitely going to be under a lot of pressure to perform, especially up to the standards of the great Michael Schumacher. To help with this, Ferrari have announced hugely experienced engineer Jock Clear is going to be assigned specifically to Schumacher this year as a performance coach, and while this will be a massive boost to Schumacher, Mattia Binotto has already said he does expect Schumacher to have a difficult time acclimatising to F1, especially in the difficult conditions that he's going to face racing for the Haas team. However, it is hoped that Jock Clear will be able to speed up this acclimatisation process for Mick Schumacher. He has worked with Charles Leclerc for the last couple of seasons and we've seen how well he has done for Ferrari, and Clear has a massive resume of working with top level drivers in Formula 1, including Lewis Hamilton, Nico Rosberg, Michael Schumacher, Rubens Barrichello, David Coulthard, Jacques Villeneuve, Takuma Sato and Johnny Herbert. A wonderful list of drivers who have given him a massive data bank of knowledge to work from, and hopefully he can use this to help Schumacher get up to speed as quickly as possible. And alongside Mick Schumacher we have, of course, Nikita Mazepin, who enters the sport with a slightly less well-rounded reputation than Schumacher, let's say. Now for those of you who do want to skip this little rant that I'm about to have about Mazepin, like I said, check the comments below and there'll be a little timestamp for you to skip ahead of this. Now Mazepin has been racing in single-seaters now since 2014 and has completed a grand total of 190 races, only 2 less than Mick Schumacher. So I wonder, what is his totals for race wins and podiums? Surely then, if you remember Schumacher's totals, like I said earlier, 26 wins and 61 podiums, that's really impressive. So I wonder what Mazepin has. Let's check. Just 1 second. It's oh. Is that it? 8 wins and 24 podiums in 190 races. How on earth does he have a seat in Form? Oh, his dad's a billionaire, isn't he? Now Mazepin has failed to win a single junior category formula, and it's not because he's been in bad teams. If you look at every single season and take all the drivers that have raced in the same team as him, he has finished as the highest placed driver in his team once, which is a shocking record, as well as being involved in a ludicrous amount of high profile and quite frankly ridiculous incidents that are so numerous I've had to get them up in front of me because I can't actually remember all of them. So here we go. So these incidents include and are not limited to assaulting Callum Ilott after a free practice session because he felt he'd been blocked. It wasn't even a race session, it was practice. Driving into a podium board at the end of a race and nearly hitting a fellow driver with it in F2 last season. Losing a race win in Belgium in F2 for quite literally pushing Yuki Tsunoda off the circuit. Trying to push drivers into the pit wall at Bahrain last season, you probably will have seen that. Partying on a day of mourning following the deaths of 9 people at a mine owned by his own dad. That's pretty scummy. Responded to a person being bombarded with racial abuse by Mazepin's own followers by saying, "This is the real world." What a lovely guy. Posted on a live video of George Russell's Instagram saying he knows a secret about George that may be seen as a coming out. Wished a happy birthday to COVID, a disease at the time of recording this video has killed 2 million people around the world. Being outed as asking female fans for nude pictures and then getting very aggressive when he has been refused. And then to top it all off, sexually abusing a woman and posting it on his fucking Instagram page. What a moron. What the hell is this man doing in Formula 1? He has shown time and time and time again that he just doesn't own a shred of remorse or a modicum of understanding about what he's done and why it is so wrong. I mean, he's nothing more than a racist, sexist, anger-filled potato in fucking racing overalls as far as I'm concerned. The guy shouldn't be anywhere near a Formula 1 car. Let's face it, the only reason he's in this position is because his dad can afford to make people look the other way while he carries on showing what an absolutely deplorable human being he is. I mean, the fact that he deleted his apology 9 days after this latest incident happened shows that he wasn't sorry at all about it. It was just a PR stunt to try and limit the damage that had been done. And the fact that all that has happened is Haas have given him a slap on the wrist is as abhorrent as they claim to have found his behaviour. I mean, Gunther Steiner was quoted recently as saying that he thinks Nikita Mazepin needs to grow up. I mean, grow up. Growing up is not making inappropriate jokes or not partying until late, not literally committing crimes and posting it on your bloody social media. Oh, but those mistakes are in the past and he's not going to make them now he's in Formula 1. Alright, shit point, well made. Okay then, devil's advert twat. The last driver to enter Formula 1 with a history of dangerous driving was Pastor Maldonado, and he really calmed down when he entered Formula 1, didn't he? Oh wait, no, that's absolute bullshit. The fact is that at every single turn, his behaviour has not been dealt with anywhere near severely enough. When you consider what happened to Dan Ticktum back in, I think it was 2014 or whenever it was. Now, if you don't know about this, Dan Ticktum in a race in a junior category, you have to say just lost his head. He overtook several cars behind a safety car and deliberately crashed into a rival. And for that, Dan Ticktum was handed a 2-year ban from motorsports. And since then has had to rebuild his reputation. He's shown that he's matured and has shown remorse for what he did. So what has Nikita Mazepin ever had for all these ridiculous transgressions that he has built up over the years? Well, for the quite literal crime of assaulting a fellow driver after a free practice session, Mazepin received a 1-race ban. That's it. That's all he's ever been given. It is an absolute joke. And the fact that the penalty point system that the FIA brought in to try and promote driver safety and safe driving, the fact that it doesn't carry over between F2 and F1 is ridiculous. Mazepin accrued 11 penalty points last season, 1 off a race ban. But he gets into F1 and it's now a clean slate somehow in cars that are faster and infinitely more dangerous if you mess about in them. And this is before we even begin to consider the damage that is being done to the image of Formula 1. Last year they launched their We Racers 1 campaign to promote diversity and inclusivity in motorsport, something that was sorely needed after years of elitism and sexism in motorsport. It's prevalent everywhere. I mean, you just have to look at the recent revelation. I can't remember the woman's name, I'm terribly sorry, but the IndyCar driver who, as part of her contract, they expected her to do a nude photo shoot for Playboy magazine. Like, it's ridiculous. They launched this campaign and then 1 year later, this absolute cretin is in Formula 1. It means nothing now if they don't take action, and they've shown they're not going to. This is quite frankly a massive failure for the sport's leadership. I mean, We Racers 1? Yeah, unless there's money involved, it turns out. I mean, honestly, quite frankly, my heart goes out to every single woman working at Haas who is going to have to work with this man next season, knowing what he's like. I mean, I wouldn't want to work with him. So I don't know how they're going to feel having to put up with this basically high-profile sexist, elitist snob. They've been massively let down by their own bosses who are more interested in money than integrity, and quite frankly I think it is a joke that he remains in a seat in Formula 1 in the coming season. I mean, the damage is being done to Haas as well. Long-time sponsor Jack and Jones took a swipe at Haas on Twitter and at Mazepin in particular, and the team have already lost, I think it's 5 sponsors. There was a tweet that was put out that I saw a couple of weeks ago. 5 sponsors have already left the team since Mazepin has been announced and are being replaced by companies affiliated with Mazepin, just further increasing their reliance on him to continue going in Formula 1. There's no other words. I can't keep saying it's ridiculous because it loses its value if you just keep saying it. It is a farce that this man has a seat in Formula 1, and I cannot stress that enough. Now, everyone here who's part of this channel who helps me create the content, because it isn't just me, there are a few people who help me out behind the scenes, we all condemn the actions of Mazepin and the fact that he is still in Formula 1. This will be the only content we make on him this season, as we join those around the world saying we say no to Mazepin. In summary then, Haas find themselves in a time of turmoil. Whilst they have acquired one of the hottest young superstars and a wealth of technical knowledge and expertise from one of the sport's most successful teams, they also have 2 years worth of chassis problems to try and understand and overcome, a vastly inexperienced driver pairing as we head into one of the biggest rules refreshes in a generation, and a ticking PR time bomb that seems inevitable is going to blow up in their face at some point in this season. I honestly cannot see Haas having a great year, to be honest with you. The team is expecting a very difficult 2021 season, but to be honest, I don't think difficult is even going to come close to what they're going to experience this year. In my mind, they are easily the worst team in F1 coming into this season, and I really can't see a way for them to beat a team like Williams, who have got so much promise coming in, and Alfa Romeo, who, while not great, still have a little bit of stability. They just seem too chaotic for me, and that is why I honestly think they are going to be rooted to the bottom this season. But let me know what you think. Where do you think Haas are going to come this year? I know it's been a little bit more of a downbeat video, this one, towards the end there, but I hope you have learned something new today. I hope you have enjoyed the video nonetheless. If you have, please smash that like button. It does so much for the channel you don't even understand. If you are new around here and you have enjoyed this content, do hit that subscribe button because there is plenty more of it on the way, and make sure, like I said before, you do check out the Williams video. It should be somewhere above my head, not sure which side it is to be honest with you, because that was in the same kind of vein as this, except slightly more upbeat. Our next video in this series will be up on Wednesday as we look at the Alfa Romeo team, so I hope you will join me for that. But in the meantime, I've been xSmithyx. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.